Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. Hope you're all well. So this is my first run review of the Nike Vomero Premium, this absolutely gigantic shoe that Nike has just released to the general market. This will be my completely unbiased review of my first thoughts on this shoe. I took it on some trails, believe it or not, where I live near the Orange Tree pub in North London. Those that know the area, that's near Totteridge and Whetstone. So in this review, I'll be telling you what it felt like to run on those trails. Hi everyone, it's Ed from Runnable. At my favourite garden centre in the whole world, Finchley Nurseries in Mill Hill. If you're living around North London, go to Mill Hill. Go to Finchley Nurseries. It's a fantastic garden centre with an amazing cafe. It feels like you're in the middle of the countryside, which you actually are really. And I'm here. I'm going to do a very no more than 10k today. I've just dropped my daughter at football, and it's a bit traily around here, and I've got a bit of a dilemma because I've got these on my feet. Have a good look at them. Shall we have a look again? Yes, we have the Nike Vomero Premiums on. Not trail shoes by any stretch. I think they've got a huge stack of about 55mm. So the highest stack shoe that I own. We're going to see what they're like on some tarmac and some gravel paths. And I'll give you a full review after this. Let you know my thoughts on this shoe. So they're a bit of a concept shoe, not for everyone, but I think watch this anyway because I'm sure you're curious about them, even though you probably won't buy them. Some people will, like me, who like just a shoe that's basically. And I bought the Puma Fast Star B, the wall breaker. I've bought every single Primex strung. So for me, I like these kind of concept prototypey shoes. I think it's a way that these shoe brands test out technologies and still make a bit of money off them. This one I think is a bit of a crossover. It looks like a basketball shoe. I think there's going to be a lot of people who wear it as a kind of fashion item, or maybe they just want to be taller. If you're 5'10", you're going to be over 6 foot in this shoe. That gives you some idea of the stack on it. Anyway, with that, I'll say goodbye and I'll do some run footage. I'll see you later. Bye bye. Okay, so here I am giving the Nike Vomero Premiums a test out on some. Well, at the moment it's concrete, but soon it's going to be compacted mud, and then we're going to run across a field. So let's have a breakdown of this shoe, because I can basically tell you what it feels like from first impressions. So let's start with the upper. The upper is super plush. Think Skyward X plush. So if you use the Skyward X, it's a similar type of feel. You've got this huge padded tongue, padded collars, heel collars and counter, and really nice material in the upper. It's kind of like, it's not obviously not a racing upper, this one. It's a bit thicker. Thank you. Probably going to be a bit warm in the summer, although it does have kind of a lot of perforations for you to be able to get some air in there. It's a lovely looking upper, and well, at least it was until I took it on this trail. I'm now on the kind of more traily type path, so I better be careful. And it feels great, you know, obviously very plush, really nice, wraps around your feet. It's got a lot of space. I went 9.5. I tend to go up half a size for shoes that I think I'm going to run a lot of miles in, and That's just my preference. But yeah, don't worry. But lots of you would go true to size, I think, in this shoe. I've got ample space in the toe box area. I think that's one good thing with Nike. They always seem to get, for me anyway, sizing pretty good. And you know, the Alpha Phi 3 probably to this day remains the best fitting shoe that I have. What does it do? Yeah, it remains the best fitting shoe that I have, and Nike I think are pretty good like that. Much better than Adidas for me, where I always struggle a little bit with the width and the volume. They're either too tight or too baggy. The SL was too baggy, and then the Pro 4 is a little bit tight for me around the toes, whereas Nike definitely seems to be more accommodating for people with wide feet like me. Maybe I've never actually bothered with the Vaporfly. Heard that's a bit narrower, but anyway, we're talking about the Vomero Premium here, and so yeah, I'd say really like this upper. I think you all are going to like it. I can't vouch for what it's like on a hot day. Certainly not a hot day here. It's windy as hell and I'm getting blown left, right and centre, but these shoes are coping quite well with the different types of terrain that I'm putting them through at the moment. So that's the upper. Just have a quick look, see what I mean about being in the middle of the countryside. We've literally been running 5 minutes and I've come out into incredible countryside, and I've just remembered I forgot to start my watch, so stupid head. Anyway, let's go back to the shoe. So the outsole, it has been a bit wet here actually, so you know, running to the garden centre, I did have to go through some wet patches. Seemed to be fine, nice and grippy. I don't think there's going to be any issues with the outsole. It's a nice big platform to land in. If I can see what I mean about the wind. Really nice big platform to land on. No issues there at all. And yeah, decently grippy, no stupid cutouts. So all in all, really nice outsole. So midsole is what you really want to know about. So yes, soft. The Zoom X with these AirPod units, front and back. So that's what's different, obviously, to any other shoe out there, running shoe out there. Nike have gone the extra mile and put one of these AirPods in the heel. And when you heel strike in this shoe, you can really feel that huge stack of Zoom X and those AirPods compressing and decompressing. Get a lovely nice bounce to the ride. In the forefoot, it's a slight tiny bit firmer, but still soft, right? You've got less foam, but you've still got a huge amount of foam there. I mean, I assume it's somewhere around 40, well, not entirely foam, obviously you've got the AirPod unit there, but the stack is somewhere around 45 millimeters, which is obviously huge, right? I think there's about a 10 millimeter drop in this shoe. It's a little bit more than I would normally like, but it feels fine, to be honest. Like I said, it's more, you get this like trampoline effect. If you land further back and further forward, you get that as well, but it's just not as pronounced. So you heel strikers, it's going to feel incredibly bouncy. and for some of you it's going to feel a bit unstable, but I'm not sensing it's a really unstable shoe, to be honest. It doesn't feel too bad. I think it's because it is quite a wide platform to land on, and there's some nice structure in the upper I didn't mention actually, that keeps your foot nice and locked in without moving laterally and medially. Lockdown is good in the shoe. The geometry of the midsole, it's not got much of a rocker, so those of you that like sort of hocker shoes which are a bit more of a rocker, you may not like this as much. You get less of a flow that way. It's more of a land flattish and then toe off, bounce off these huge trampolines. So those of you that like that, you're going to like this shoe, I think. Those of you who prefer to land more on a curve, more like the Outsole, it's going to feel like you're having to do a bit more work in this shoe, like I'm having to do now. So I'm going up a hill. It's a decent hill as well, and you can feel the weight of this shoe for sure. I have to weigh it when I get back, but this is not a light shoe. It's not like I'm skipping up this hill, folks. I'm having to work at this. I mean, it's nice and soft and bouncy, but it's not that propulsive. And I feel like the energy return I'm getting is definitely more suited to vertical bounce and forward propulsion. There's a big difference there. And but it's not terrible either. Again, I think there's some similarities with the Skyward X. I just say with that shoe, you've got the plate, right, as well. And it feels a bit snappier than these AirPods. This shoe's all about max cushion, protecting those joints, and also just being one of the most outlandish looking shoes out there on the marketplace. And really, that's what you're buying when you're buying this shoe. You're not really buying something, well, you're definitely not buying something for racing. You're not buying something really for ultras either, because, you know, for ultra running, because it's too heavy. But what you are buying is this concept shoe that people are going to ask you about. I've had 2 people ask me about it already. Literally come up and ask me about it and whether they'd make good running shoes. So I told them to watch my channel. Get some more subscribers then. Don't give too much away. Right, I've come out now the road. So I'm going to do a bit more of a road run, tarmac, and then I'm going to head back onto the trails, finish off and get my daughter. But to summarise, I think these are really nice shoes in terms of comfort and cushioning. I think they are going to be a bit energy zapping in the same way like the Neo Zen is, because they're so soft and your foot just sink into them a little bit. Not as much as I thought they would. I mean, some reviewers have been saying they're the softest shoes ever. I would say they're similar to the Neo Vista 2 and the Neo Zen in terms of the kind of how much your foot sinks into them and how much energy zapping you get because of that. But I would say both the Neo Vista and less so the Neo Zen have got more of a rocker. So you kind of, when you land with those shoes, you kind of roll through your stride a bit more than you do with this one, which is just like land, and bounce, and there's no kind of roll forward, or not much anyway, not that I'm sensing, but it's early days. Anyway, I'm going to continue with my run, and obviously I might do a bit more run footage in a bit, and when I get back I'm going to do a full review, first run review of the Nike Vomero Premium. Certainly is a premium shoe. Whether it's any good, you need to watch the review. See you later. Bye bye. Okay, so I'm back. So one thing to note about this shoe actually, and it could be to do with my weight. So I'm I'm about 64 kg. And what I found was that when I was going downhill on this run with this shoe, I could really engage those 4-foot pods, AirPods. So I think some of you who are heavier than me are going to get a hell of a lot of bounce out of this shoe. So for me, you know, even though it is soft and bouncy, I'm probably not the best use case for this shoe. Somebody who's heavier, someone's over 70 kg, I think you're going to get the real benefit from these AirPods when you compress them. What I would say though, I don't think you're going to get a quick decompression in this shoe. It's just going to be a nice sink and bounce, nothing too strong in terms of bounce back or energy return. So that's all I wanted to say. I thought it was worth saying for you heavier runners. Actually could be a more viable option than for me. I'm back at the garden centre now. While I wait for my coffee, I'll just give you a little tour of this garden centre. So you've got these flowers that you can pick, cut them. And then you've got these rows and rows of plants that you can buy for your garden, obviously. And then you've got these massive greenhouses. See here, look, amazing. For your indoor plants or plants that need a warmer weather than we've got now. And then if we look back, that's the place I've just been to for coffee. Some garden ornaments. I could do with that gorilla, I think. Which one of these would you buy? Put in the comments which one of these takes your fancy, okay? Giving you a real tour of all of them here. Is it that one? Fantastic Mr. Fox. Dogs. Quite like the, is that a lizard? Yeah, that green one, lizard, gecko, whatever you call it. Alright, I think my coffee's getting cold. I'll see you later, bye bye. So let's go through some key stats around this shoe first. So in my UK size 9.5, and I went up half a size, I would think most of you would be fine true to size. If you've got really wide foot, high volume toes, you might go up half a size, but I think the majority of you will be fine true to size. That way you'll save a little bit of weight, because this shoe is not a light shoe. It comes in at 365 grams. In my UK size 9.5, which is huge. If you say compare this to say something like the Prime X Strung 3, which is seen as a heavy shoe, this is almost 60 grams heavier. To give you some perspective, in terms of stack height, what you've got here is a huge 55mm stack height in the heel, 10mm drop, so you've got 45 in the forefoot. Most of this, as you can see, is these AirPods and you've got the Zoom X which sandwich them. It's one of the biggest stack heights in any shoe out there on the marketplace. Maybe only the Puma Fastar B is comparable to this shoe in terms of stack height, particularly in the heel. In terms of the upper, you've got really nice clean design upper. As you can see, decent width in the forefoot. It fits true to size, like I said, but like me, if you're going to use this for long distance running, you might want to go up half a size. Those with narrow feet, you might have to cinch the laces in a bit, which is fine because you've got this absolutely massive tongue. But the only word I can describe this as is plush. And the upper in general, plush is a good word for this upper because you've got, like I said, this huge, soft, pillow-like tongue. You've got this really nice padding around the collar, as you can see there, and the heel. You've got a fairly rigid, well, very rigid heel counter, and lots of structure in the upper, which you need because you need it to center your foot. So your ankle and foot doesn't do this and this, move laterally and medially. So it keeps your foot nice and centered, which helps with stability because you're going to need that with this massive stack. So all in all, what I would say about the upper, I like the clean design. I like the plushness. I like the laces are fine. I like the heel collar and counter. It keeps my foot nicely in place. I've got good lockdown. I had no real heel rubbing. All in all, I pretty much like everything about it. I like the little subtle air that you can see there. And if you really look closely, you can see the swoosh there. So all in all, I think a lot of thought has gone into this upper. The only thing I would worry about is on a hot day, is it going to be a bit thick? I mean, you've got this kind of mesh, bit scratchy material, but it feels substantial. So I wonder how breathable it is. I think it'll be all right, but that would be my only concern. Given that I don't know that really yet, I think it's a 5 out of 5 upper. I really like the upper, and I think you're going to find it really nice as well. Maybe those of you with really narrow feet, you might struggle a little bit, but the vast majority of us are going to love it. The outsole, loads of rubber coverage and quite wide, so a wide landing platform again that will help with stability. I found it very grippy. It is kind of a very flat outsole as well, apart from the little areas here that you've got no real cutouts, which means that it feels quite nice and flat to land on, and you don't do any of this pronate or supinate really. So all in all, I think this will be a good outsole. I think it'll last a while. I'm going to give this a 4.5 out of 5. So this midsole, you've got this huge stack here of both foam and air pods. So the air pods are sandwiched by the Zoom X, the Peeper foam. It feels fairly flat, so the geometry, there's no real roll through when you land. It feels flat. So if you don't like that feeling, I've got to admit that that's not one of my favorite feelings. I had that with the Hurricane 24, that when I landed, it felt really flat, and it meant, for me anyway, that I needed a lot of energy to keep going. I didn't get any roll, and you get that a bit with this. So this is a little bit of an energy sapping shoe. I sometimes find that the same with this shoe, although it's less, there's a bit more of a rocker on this shoe, the Neo Zen, but I sometimes find this is a bit energy zapping, and I think the same with this shoe, but even more so because of the weight of the shoe. As I said, this is 365 grams, so it's a humongous shoe. But the midsole with those pods is nice and bouncy, so even though it's flat, when you land, and if you land with force, and I felt, particularly when I was going downhill, I could really feel myself compressing these pods and getting the nice energy return from them. I think the heavier runners than me, who don't care about having a rocker and don't really care about landing on a curved surface and rolling forward, you're going to actually quite like the experience in this shoe, because you're going to compress these Zoom AirPods and you're going to get that nice bounce. So I do feel for you people, it's going to feel less tiring because you are engaging the key fundamental areas of this shoe, which is those air pods. Whereas I'm a bit lighter. So for those that don't know me, 5'9", about 64 kg. And it was only when I was really hammering it down the hill could I feel myself really engaging those pods. It did feel nice and soft. It did still feel bouncy, but it didn't feel as crazily bouncy as some of the other reviewers have been saying. But that said, it was a really nice run today, and I think the midsole, it's not a gimmick, this midsole. I do like the makeup of it. I think the pods are a good idea. I just feel Nike needs to figure a way of doing this without having this huge weight, because all the benefits that you have with this nice bounce and this compression of the pods, you lose because of how heavy this shoe feels, and it does feel heavy. And I'm not one that normally complains about heavy shoes. Like I've just said, I actually really like the Prime X Strung 3, and this gets much maligned as a heavy shoe. Now compare this shoe with this shoe, is this is more than 60 grams heavier. So that's a huge amount of difference between the shoes. And at times I find the Prime X Strung 3 feels heavy. So you can imagine what I feel about this shoe. There's no plate, there's no energy rods in this shoe to keep me pushing forward to get that nice snap and twang. I have to fully rely on these pods. And when I'm not feeling like I'm engaging these pods so much, the shoe feels a little bit heavy, particularly going uphill. That said, I did like when I was going on the flat surface, on tarmac, and when I was going downhill, I really like the feel that you get from really hammering those pods and getting that nice spring back. It's like a trampoline, this shoe, right? I wouldn't describe it as landing on pillows. It's soft, but it's not ridiculously soft. But when you land hard, the spring back you get, it's like you're bouncing on a trampoline, which I think would make this shoe really good for a basketball game. So if you like basketball and you're a runner, you're getting two for the price of one here. To summarize, I would say, yes, if you're heavier, you're going to engage these pods and you're going to really like the bounce. If you don't mind that flatter feel, you're going to like the sensation of just landing and really toeing off and getting that nice bounce. If you like me, who likes more of a curved, more of a rocker, then you might it might feel a bit too flat for you, and I feel like you're expending a lot of effort in this shoe to pick up the pace. Weirdly though, at one point I was thinking this is a bit of a struggle, and I was looking at my watch and I was running at sort of 420, 430 kilometer pace. I was thinking, no way does it feel like I'm running that quickly. So there is something about this shoe, I think, that maybe makes you run faster than you actually think you're running, which is interesting in itself. Stability wise, as I've kind of mentioned already, there's a bit of structure to this upper. You can feel it there. So it keeps your foot nicely locked in. So there's not really much of this lateral medial movement because of how good this upper is. And also you've got this huge, absolutely huge landing area here. So despite this being 55 millimeters, sorry, despite this being quite soft and bouncy, I don't think this is the most unstable shoe. It's similar to the Skyward X and similar to the Neo Vista 2. So all in all, I would say, those of you with stability needs, yes, this won't be the right shoe for you. It's just too big a stack. But those of you who have no real stability needs, don't worry so much about this shoe. Stability shouldn't be the thing that puts you off with this shoe. You might not like the look of it. It might look so weird and outlandish and ridiculous. That might put you off. But actually, the stability wise, it's actually decent, this shoe. Durability, take this with a pinch of salt. I really don't know yet. But what I will say is the upper seems quite strong and well put together. It's been, I think there's been a lot of care and thought go into this upper. The outsole, I feel like it's well covered with rubber. And generally, I know Zoom X has got this bad rep of wearing quite considerably quickly. But I do feel with this, that with the pods there as well, unless you puncture a pod, of course, I think there's a different makeup here, and I think it could be quite long lasting, this shoe. In terms of speed, it's not the quickest shoe. So Prime X3 is definitely a faster shoe. I ran a park run in this shoe, 17:20. There's no way on earth I could do that in this shoe. I don't feel like it's a faster shoe than the Skyward X. I think Skyward X with the plate got there is probably faster. I don't feel like it's a faster shoe than the Neo Vista 2. I think there's, with the rocker here, you can see that rocker difference. I think you roll through better in this shoe, so I think this is a faster shoe. I don't know about the Puma Fast RB because I haven't raced in this shoe. Maybe I should pick one of these and do a park run in them, right? But I feel like this will probably be the faster shoe. So all in all, I guess what I'm saying is this is not a fast shoe. It's probably similar to the Neo Zen, a very soft shoe in its own right. This one is more about plodding, doing the miles, albeit being quite heavy. I think you've got a lot of cushion, a lot of spring, and it will protect your legs, and you could go a long way in this shoe, but absolutely maximum would be marathon pace. If you try and go any quicker in this, try and take this on doing intervals on a track, and it will feel horrific. But it's not there for that. It's for those long runs, those runs, recovery runs, where you want to protect your legs. So that brings me on to what it's good for. I do think this is a recovery run shoe at best. I feel it's similar to the Neo Zen in that respect. Both would be, in my opinion, really good recovery run shoes. I think this might be slightly better for the longer, like 20-mile runs, as long as it's flat, just because you've got more cushioning, more protection, more bounce than the Neo Zen. I took this on a 20-mile run and found it really hard work. It's quite energy zapping, this soft foam. They're both probably equally as soft, but I just think this has got more spring, and particularly heavier runners, those of you that can engage the pods more, can take these a long way, and I think it will keep you flowing and keep you springing along with that nice bounce. So I feel like it's a recovery run shoe and an easy run, long distance shoe where you're going to do those 15, 20 milers even in this shoe, even though it is heavy. So you want to plan a route which is reasonably flat. Those with lots of hills, you're going to feel it with this shoe. That's my thoughts on what it's good for. Value for money, £209, way too expensive. There's a lot going in here, and I suppose when you think about it, it's £40 cheaper than the Prime X Strung 3. So there is that, but this is way overpriced, and I think it's come down a lot now. I think £209 is too much for a shoe that really is only a recovery and an easy day shoe. What I would say though, if you're like me, a bit of a shoe nerd, and you like these concept shoes and prototype shoes, you're going to pay it anyway. So why am I treating you guys? I'm paying £209 for this shoe. If you're like a collector like me, you're probably going to buy it, aren't you? What I would say though, you would get use out of it. It's not like one of these shoes, a bit like the Puma RB, Fast RB, where you literally buy it and you put it in a box and you don't use it much. I think with this shoe, you will be able to use it. You could build this into your rotation as your easy day recovery run shoe, and it will work really well. And remember, when you run in heavier shoes, it means when you put on those lighter shoes, they feel super light and your legs are really, really ready to go fast in those shoes because they've been doing the work in these heavier shoes. So just remember that. In terms of look and feel, I really like this upper, I really think it's a clean design. I think Nike have done a really nice job there. I struggle with this a little bit. It feels a little bit futuristic and a little bit too much for me. I'd love it if they toned down this a little bit, but then again, this, like I said, keep saying, is a concept shoe. They want this to stand out. They want this to be bold. I've taken this out on one run and I've already had 2 people come up to me and ask me about this shoe. Okay, so my final thoughts on this shoe. Should you buy this shoe? I think if you've got the money and you want to spend a lot of money on the concept shoe You know, in the same way you might have bought the Prime Extra Run 3 or the Puma Fast Star B. I think, you know, it's worth getting this shoe. I think if you want value for money, this is not the best shoe. If you want a shoe that's versatile, this is not the best shoe. If you want a light shoe, this is not the best shoe. But if you want a shoe that brings smile to your face like mine now, that's incredibly bouncy. If you're a heavier runner, it'll be even bouncier. If you want a shoe that's different to any other shoe in the marketplace, that kind of looks like a basketball shoe with this crazy design, you want to stand out, you want to be taller, and I guess you could buy this shoe. But what I'm saying is it's not the most versatile shoe, and I think there are better shoes out there in the marketplace to do exactly the same kind of runs, like the Neo Vista 2, like the Neo Zen 1. Even the Prime X Strung 3, I think, would be a more versatile, better shoe. You could even race in this shoe. And also, you know, a former favourite of mine, the Hoka Skyward X, I think is a more practical shoe to run in. It's lighter, you get the similar sort of bounce, but it's not as humongous, and you feel like you can pick up the pace a lot more in this shoe than you can in the Nike Vomero Premium. So what I believe, my final thoughts on this is you're paying a premium price for a shoe that has a very limited use case. My honest opinion is, unless you're a shoe collector, unless you're a bit of a shoe nerd, unless you want to stand out, I wouldn't buy this shoe, because there are better alternatives out there on the marketplace. But don't let that stop you if you really like the look of it, or you just can't help yourself like me. That's all, folks. Put any more questions you've got in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Do you like the look of it? Do you want to know anything more about the shoe? Put it all in the comments. I love you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.